Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Sergeant Erica Kane. We warmly welcome the family of Private Richard Thompson, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge Her Excellency Mrs Vicky Treadell, British High Commissioner to Australia. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors, as well as students on behalf of the following schools. From the Northern Territory, Catherine High School, and from South Australia, Rose Park Primary School. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you, students. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Richard Thompson. Richard Thompson was born on the 3rd of May 1888, the son of blacksmith Richard Rudd Thompson and his wife Elizabeth, of the Sydney suburb of Newtown. He was the third of 9 children, 8 of whom survived infancy. Dick, as he was known to his friends and family, attended Camdenville Public School in Newtown. On leaving school, he worked as a ship's fireman and moved to Collingwood, a suburb of Melbourne. Thompson enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force at Melbourne in September 1916. He trained for only a few weeks in Australia before embarking on the transport ship Port Lincoln in October. Arriving in Plymouth at the end of December, he began training in England. In February 1917, he was admitted to hospital with scabies, a rash caused by mites burrowing under the skin. He was successfully treated for this with a bath in sulphur ointment. At the end of April, Thompson sailed to France and joined the 38th Australian Infantry Battalion. The unit travelled by train to the French town of Armentières in northern France. From there, they marched to the border of France and Belgium, preparing to enter the Ypres section of the Western Front. The 38th Battalion was stationed in Ploegstedt-Saint-Yves area and spent the first half of 1917 engaging in trench raids on the German positions. These raids were sometimes preceded by an artillery barrage aimed at cutting barbed wire and disabling German machine guns and other defensive measures. In the early morning of the 29th of May 1917, Thompson and 220 other men of the 38th Battalion participated in a raid on German trenches. A German soldier was taken prisoner by the raiding party. Some of the supporting artillery barrage fell short, however, and Thompson was one of 30 soldiers of the 38th Battalion killed in this friendly fire incident. He was 29 years old. 2 of Thompson's younger brothers also fought in the First World War. Private Reginald Philip Thompson was killed at Mouquet Farm in August 1916. Gunner Bernard Rudd Thompson was killed at the Second Battle of Bullecourt in May 1917, only 10 days before Richard. The final resting place of Richard Thompson's remains is unknown. His name is inscribed on the Villebretonneau Memorial in France, alongside nearly 11,000 other Australians killed in the First World War who have no known grave. Thompson was survived in Australia by his father and 5 siblings: Phoebe, Henry, Philip, Lillian and Tasman. On his enlistment papers, Thompson had stated that he was single. However, in his will, he left all his effects to Eliza Howard, who lived at the same address as him in Collingwood. Eliza later received a war widow's pension as his de facto wife. Private Richard Thompson is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Richard Thompson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow old, they shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them. lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We'd like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.